tonight we start with the hard conversations, very hard conversations. We are not going to start in the lower end or the shallow end, just easing in, let's talk about things that are sexy and nice and, they're easy to hear. No, we are getting on right. We're talking about the execution gap. Execution gap. Why you know so much but produce so little, and how to close the gap. Deep end. Deep end. Here we come. Because we just don't want to keep learning. Yes, we just don't want to keep learning. And I will tell you, this place for me is a place where God constantly reminds you of your greatness, is a place where there are other coals of fire that are lighting up. They are dreaming big. They are chasing their dreams. They are getting bigger visions. They are getting mega faith. They're like, you know what, you hear someone saying something and you're like, oh my God, I had buried my big one. Let me just get it out, because it seems there are others that are also dreaming big. Now, this is the place. This is the space that God told me to create, a place where coals of fire will light one another, where you will come when you are weary, when you've been beaten, when you've been slowed down, where things are not working, you feel stuck, and when you come, you get one word, not all words, not everything, one word that will rekindle you, one word that will resurrect the passion, one word that will show you that you are chosen, you are gifted, and you are on an assignment, one word that will beat your head straight. I'll be like, come back to the normal settings, yeah? You were getting off the road. That is all that we are doing to make sure that we get to where, let me tell you, what God has created you for is more beautiful. Some of you have not tested it. Some of you have not seen it. But I will tell you, it is beautiful. Some of you are going to even wonder, am I the one doing these things? I've prayed for you that you will get those pinch me moments of, am I the one here? Like, am I dreaming? Is this dream going to come to an end or not? Yeah? When you tell me that you go to a place and someone is saying that they started getting, people coming in, 30% is a huge increment, That means you carry something in you. What you need is to be stirred up. When something is cooking and you need to stir it up for the aromas to come out. You need to stir it out for it to get ready wholesomely. Otherwise, if you don't stir it up, it is burning down. But up here, it has not cooked. Have you seen cooked rice? As in burnt rice? Down there, it is like porridge. Now it is burning. Up here, it is like there's like small stones. Nothing has actually happened. So the reason as to why we can never cease to fellowship, to gather, is because there is a constant stirring up. There is a constant stirring up. The words that we have shared are words to encourage you and say, okay, if Lavender wrote a book, if she's launching her second book, as in, who is to say that I cannot write a book? I can actually attempt to write a book, yeah? And I can actually be an author. I have something that I'm passionate about, that God has given. There are things that I have learned in this world. Clearly, if I asked you about womanhood, you have lessons that you can pass on to the next generation. Imagine to teenagers. Some of you want to write for only big people. Write for teenagers. Write for 7-year-olds. Those people are busy reading books. Yeah, we are leaving them out. I hope the straight talk is touching from that age, so that they can, that age-appropriate information, so that they can know what the world looks like. These people need to learn about sex when they're 7 years old, because internet is teaching them other things. And now if we as parents or coaches or people help us are quiet, then that means our salt is not felt in the world. We are the salt of the world, and we are the light of the world. And some of us are lighting the candles or lighting the light or the lamp, and we are hiding it under the table, and we are like, but there are so many people help us, but there are so many coaches, but so many motivational speakers, everyone is saying something. Bring your ingredient as well. Bring your ingredient and constantly stir up, There is someone in need of that remedy, right? So, why you know so much, but produce so little, and how to close the gap. Let's start with the definitions, because this is a class. This is not just a motivational speech. Yeah, this is a class. When we talk about the execution gap, yeah, this is the space between knowledge and action. The space between knowledge and action. It is the difference between what you understand and what you consistently implement. what you understand and what you consistently, not what you understand and what you implement, but what you understand and what you consistently implement. Because in implementation, in implementation, we have what we call structures and systems. Things that create predictable kind of work that you have, there are systems, you have to repeat them. For example, what I sent you today, for those of you that are on the group, Iconic group, it had something to do with your waking up, what time you wake up, what you do, because some of us, we are quick to the hand on the phone. And then all of a sudden, the phones are also now, they are very wise. They can tell you that you open WhatsApp first. So they will put WhatsApp on top of the chat, on top of whatever it is. And they will know that maybe you open TikTok first. And then you're like, this time when I'm lounging around in bed, I open TikTok and I be scrolling while my body wakes up. You are lying. You are actually derailing yourself. Why? Because you don't have a system. Okesa luchanga nkoko ya mutamivu. So when you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, you wake up stiff, you don't know what next, and then after that you louse around, you start scrolling, and then you yawn, and then you go to the bathroom. Some of you know how to sit in the bathroom without doing anything. You're not doing anything. You're just sitting in the bathroom and you're busy actually scrolling. And when 3 hours clock in, 3 hours, you're like, but what was I watching? You cannot even recall what you were watching. But maybe you had a YouTube video that you had prepared to watch because it was going to be quite teaching. You were going to get substance out of it. Do you know that we end up not watching the long form? We watch the short form because it's giving us the adrenaline of what next. Yeah? And some of them you open and it's a bam bam that is shaking that has come. And all of a sudden, and then we are just a roller coaster going through the day. Yeah? And then that day actually goes. So when you succeed to put on and push yourself to work and you do the bare minimum that you can do, you dilly-dally and zigzag and come back home, and there is no system. What time is supper prepared? What time is supper eaten? What time do you go to bed? Do you plan on watching a movie? And you're like, I'm still strong. I can watch a movie until 3 a.m. You know? And then I will wake up at 5 in Zegola. I sleep at 3 a.m. and I wake up at 5. Like it's like a badge of honor that you are putting on. And some of us, when we get to this age, we are like, do you know what you're doing? You're going to be wrinkled before you even know it. You're going to be paranoid. Mental illness will kick in. Depression will kick in. Stress will kick in. Why? Because zero rest. And then for the single sisters, you're busy stalking the man. You're like, what is the last time he was last seen on what? On Snapchat. Again on Instagram. Bali ku Snapchat, bali ku Tumblr, bali ku TikTok, bali ku WhatsApp, they even have secret locks for everything. Yeah. And then you start stalking. Do you know that you can stalk someone for 5 hours? People have stalked others for 5 hours. While you're checking their last read message. And then you start analyzing your chat and you're like, since January, they've been writing, okay, yeah. And by the way, that perturbs you and it takes away your peace and it takes away 5 hours of your life. There is no routine at all, right? So, the difference is between what you understand and what you consistently implement. That means there has to be a consistency so that we can say that the gap has collapsed. What you know you are actually doing. Let's talk about the knowledge accumulation. The habit of gathering information without translating it into disciplined behavior or measurable outcomes. Yeah? It's the art, Sebo. It's a science, a whole art. Like where you are gifted in gathering information without translating it into disciplined behavior. Because then you're like, now that I have this, I'm going to translate it. I'm going to sit down and translate it into how I want my life to move, into measurable outcomes. And the more we sit on it, do you know that when you learn something and you take long to implement, you forget about it? And sometimes we pretend that we are taking notes, but do you know that after 2 days, those notes will be useless? You go back to them and read them and they, what did this mean? Because the one who was speaking is not there to repeat their notes. But now for you, because you just highlight, when they speak a good word, then you write it. And they speak another good sentence, and then you write it. And then after that, you come back to the message and you're like, but in your mind, you had good intentions while you were taking the notes. That, you know what, I am actually going to implement. But the implementation is actually not there. Let's talk about delayed obedience, because it is one of those things that we need to talk about in this conversation. When clarity is present, but action is postponed due to fear, comfort, or perfectionism, or whatever the reason is, delayed obedience. The clarity is presence. You know that I must do this. You know I must create content. You know I must write that proposal. You know I must respond to that email. You know that I must actually create the structure for I cannot live an unstructured life. You know, I need systems in my life. I can't be the one. Even, do you know that we can have systems even in putting on? I was telling someone recently, zeroing down and narrowing down my choices, I don't have so much time for choices. When you set up structures that are based on the real effort, the real work, the real calculation, that means you are taking longer to actually progress. But when you progress, you don't go back. When your identity is formed, when the work is eventually done, like, you are happy to even display it and put it out there. You're not giving excuses. People that take shortcuts have excuses. I would have been a better speaker, but Kale, I don't have anywhere to practice from. People are not giving out their platforms. You see all these things, many pastors, many motivational speakers, everyone that has a platform. Yeah, kwatidira a platform, yete wali agaba platform. Ne Facebook bajikutte. Ne Instagram ne bagikwata, ne TikTok ne bagikwata. Nga ab'emyaka 14 bali kuli bazina bafuna sente. Wanji? Addicted to what? To not doing what we ought to do. Yeah? And we read James 1:12 that says, do not merely listen to the word or be deceived or deceive yourselves. Do what it says. Anyone who listens to the words and does not do what it says, it's like you look at yourself in the mirror, and then after that you go away and immediately forget how you actually look like. While they are saying whatever they are saying, you're saying amen. While they're saying whatever you're saying yes, that is the truth. And then after that, you go back and immediately get a text message, and it erases everything that you have had. And then you go back again and listen, and it is erased. Whatever is being stolen, and you cannot say, if there is something following me, I need to be able to deal with it. Because there has to be awareness, and you have to be intentional. And you're like, no, I am going to buy a notebook, and I am going to write things that I understand, that I can read. That is how I take notes. I write things that I can understand after a year. That when I open that same place in the notebook, and even after a year, I will understand what I am reading. Why? Because I don't want things to evaporate. And guess what? As old as I am and forgetful as I am, I usually remember one word in a certain sermon or something. And believe me, I have searched for, if you give me a task and tell me, there is this message that you talked about it 5 years ago. And it was saying this. Believe me, I will remember one word that was in that message, and I have it on my iCloud. I will just feed in one word, and I will get a message of 5 years ago. Why? I have trained myself, because this is my field of operation. All right? This is my field of operation. Now, delay, we talked about delay in form of disobedience. Yeah? And I said here that obedience that waits for comfort is not obedience. Obedience that waits for comfort is actually not obedience. When we say, go and do this, go and research, Go and write down what you actually want to, as in do a vision board. Or go and whatever it is that you have been told. Some of us wait until it is comfortable and we're like, I'm waiting for some time when I don't have so many things on my plate, and then all of a sudden I will do it before you know it. And then we like the statements of, I was so swamped this season, I was so swamped, I had so many things to do. And by the way, while you're saying it, it sounds corporate and nice. Yeah? But for me, it sounds foolish. Yes. It sounds. And I don't want to give people reasons of, I was swamped. I will tell you clearly, it either skipped my mind, you understand it? And while I'm talking to you, most of you and how I have dealt with you is I deal with you immediately. When you send a message, when you send a prayer request, when you send something, if I tell myself I'm looking for a comfortable time for me to get back to you, I will never get back to you. So when you send it, I give it attention. I'm like, I'm going to kill 3 minutes of my time, 5 minutes of my time, but I'm going to get this done, because if I promise to come back, I will never come back, and I will be a liar. And that is not how mentorship works. Do we see that? So that means we must be able to carve time and say, you know what, I'm not waiting for comfort. I'm going to do it. That, oh, business, let me wait until I have all the money. Yeah? You know, I want 2 million, but now I have 500,000. Ask yourself, what can I do with the 500,000? You know, I was waiting for so-and-so to give me some money. If you're waiting for someone to give you money, you're never going to do business. And guess what? When someone gives you that money, you're going to do business as if you have no ownership, without responsibility, because someone gave you money. And you can go back and say, for some reason, whatever I did not go well as I expected. So I'll pay you when I eventually get the money. And now you move on to another person. And then before you know it, everyone knows how you are financially indisciplined. Do we see that? Yeah, like there are certain projects that you have reserved for the you that has lost weight. So I'm asking yourself, when do you plan on losing it? Though I'm not seeing anyone that needs to lose weight in this place. I know I can see that. I'm like, what is wrong? 6 kgs. I am coming. I am coming. Yeah? But the thing is, we wait until things are comfortable. And then many people are waiting for clarity that they already have. The clarity that you already have. Like, what do you want to be? If you want to be, let me say, a huge brand, to build a huge brand like my sister in consultancy. Yeah? You don't wait for the clarity, because you already have the clarity that this is the line that I want to operate in. That means everything I am going to search, everything I'm going to research, everything I am going to read, I'm going to be a living encyclopedia of who I want to become. Wanji? I'm going to follow the people that are doing that. I'm going to read about people that are doing that. I'm going to do everything. And while I am executing my smaller steps to getting to where I actually want to get, I'm like, what does it take for people to actually know me around this town? That means I must create content. I must be able to create awareness for the kind of work that I do. I must be able to create testimonials for the people that I've already worked with. And then some of us, we have testimonials for the people that things have worked for, but we are seated on them and we are like, Kakati, I need to give them to a graphics designer, and then the graphics designer will ask me for clarity of give me information when it is broken down, and then I don't have time to break down this information. And then, do you know why we procrastinate on this? You have procrastinated on that. Not because you couldn't do it, you have all the clarity, but we think sometimes there is a magic pill that is going to come from somewhere. There's a magic wand that is going to happen, and all of a sudden you're going to find yourself that person, that big consultant that you want to actually become. And yet things do not work like that. So if you have clarity, and then delay is often fear wearing a mask of wisdom. Fear wearing a mask of wisdom. Sometimes the I know more that is portrayed on people's faces of, I know it's not the right time. In the right time, it's going to happen. Hey, how do you know it's not the right time? That is fear speaking. Yeah? You're like, okay, businesses, let me see, around August, when you ask them, why aren't you doing it now? They actually don't have any reason. But they will tell you all the things that they have read on Google, everything that they have read from somewhere, some of them that do not even apply, and some of them, they will look really, really, really convincing, by the way. They'll be like, do you know that all our reasons are valid? All our excuses are valid. As in, if someone can look at them from your point of view, they are actually valid. They're like, I will not do this because children are going to school. And then after children are going to school, they go to school, we're getting into Easter season, Simanyi Women's Month, Easter season, and after that, voila, they are back home. And all of a sudden, school fees time again. And now, because you've been postponing an event, all of a sudden, you can't do any. And you're like, Bambi ali calculative, Bambi abantu abasasira, because people are spending too much. Why do you think about other people spending? Gwe kiteekeyo baleme kujja tumanye nti tebazze. Huh? Do you see that we keep, and then sometimes we're like, in this season, I feel fatigued. Now that is about working out. I feel fatigued and, I've been quite swamped. Let me wait until this season. And this season goes, I think the next season is going to really be better. So I can actually work out and firm up my body and be fit and stuff like that. And before you know it, we are in November. Nothing has happened. That is fear masking as wisdom. You are too calculative, but calculating nothing. So now you look at yourself. If God has spoken, if you have the clarity that this is what you are meant to do and you haven't moved, the problem is not clarity. You lack the courage to do it. You just lack the courage to actually go on and execute. Now, execution is actually proof of trust, that I trust myself, I'm going to do this. I trust myself that I can make it happen. I trust myself that when I start execution, I wouldn't have executed on a Monday. Do you know when I decided to do a Monday live physical session? I decided that when they send things on your nanny, on the groups, isn't it Friday? Last Friday. That is when I decided it. Because I have been, will people come? Well, people will be busy. And then I'm like, but God, I also have a busy year. But I am what? And I'm like, let me tell you, sometimes God speaks to me in vivid ways and rebukes me in vivid ways and like, take away your mind. Like, just stop overthinking it. And then I was like, I'm going to put it. If two people appear, God, you have told me you're going to create this space for these women. You're not creating this space for me. You're creating this space for these women. So if they come, well and good. For me, I am going to be there, waiting to see whether they are going to come. Do you see that? Now, if I had overthought about it, would we be here? Would we be closing the gaps of execution? Would you be going back and God being able to torment you about execution and how you know the gap and how you have not closed it? Yeah? Now, it's like I am leaving you into the hands of the Holy Spirit. I'm like, convict them, remind them, let them dream about it, let them read it everywhere. Now that you have seen execution, now that we have talked about execution, every post on social media is going to talk about execution. Every motivational speaker is going to talk about execution. And you'll be like, you know what? I am the foolish one now. I am the one that is not doing anything about it. And then you will never say, Coach Bahati never told me. You'll be like, that woman told me everything. I can't blame her for anything. And then faith responds. It does not postpone. Faith responds. It says, yes, I will do it. I might not have the details, but I will get onto the work. And then I will get the clarity later. Faith does not postpone. But so many of us, we say we have faith, but we keep pushing things ahead. That is proof that you actually don't have faith. Let's go to perfectionism as a hidden enemy for progress. Ecclesiastes 11:4. Whoever watches the wind will not plant. I don't think you people need any more proof. The Bible has given you all the proof. Whoever watches the wind will not plant. Whoever looks at the clouds will not reap. Because every time you will be like, this kind of wind, this kind of wind does not signify rain. This kind of wind, while others are planting, for you, you're like, for me, let me wait for the rains. While others, I was watching Elijah and how he told Ahab about how the rain is going to come. He walked like majestically into his palace and proclaimed 3 years of famine, no rain in the land. Unprovoked, no one had done anything to him. He just walked in through King Ahab and proclaimed and majestically walked out. And now his pond has dried, like he no longer has anywhere, and the years have gone by, and now he's coming back to tell the person that was working for Ahab that I need a meeting with Ahab, and meets Ahab and tells Ahab, please make sure that you drive back because the rain is actually coming. The storm is before the storm actually comes. But the man is proclaiming the storm, and the cloud is very dry, very dry. So he sends his servant and says, go and peep. Is there anything on the cloud? Is there anything in the sky? And the servant comes 7 times saying, there is nothing. Until the last time he was like, go again. And he's like, there's like a hand. Eh? It's like a cloud, but it's like a hand. And he's like, now, take a komisinde. And he overtook Ahab while he was running. Now, so many of us wait. He would have said, malajira bakonge tonya. Because that is what some of us do. You're like, those things of simanyi, put in the effort, look good, akawato simanyi, the belt, and then you go, you're available to be dated and stuff like that. You're like, man will first come, then I will put myself in order. Yes, that is what people do. But man will first come, and then I will put when the money for business comes, then I will do the research. It is too late. It is too late. While you're doing the research, you're using that money, and before you know it, you start manyanga. One thing led to another, and then I touched that money. Okay. I only spent like 5 million from that money, but I will put it back. You will put it back. When you didn't have it in the first place. How will you put it? There are people who will give you stories. And sometimes you'll be like, but how do you think? Like, how does your brain actually work? Do we see that? Waiting for perfect conditions kills momentum. Waiting for perfect conditions kills momentum, or it does not build it at all. When you start without, I was giving some people an example of how I started on radio, and I think I've given that example so many times. 2 minutes of being on radio. That is 6 minutes a day of being on radio. I should have said, whoever is on radio goes on for like an hour. That is when people get the gist of the thing, and that is when they make impact. And so I will wait until I have an hour. No, I started with the 6 minutes. 2 minutes in the morning, 2 minutes in the afternoon, 2 minutes in the night. And people demanded for more. I got an hour. And when people saw that it was not enough on radio, they actually suggested, and they were like, NTV, can you be hosting Hilda so that she can give us, because on radio we get her 1 hour a week, we need her to be on TV. Do you see that? Now the momentum is created in you saying yes. When I said yes to the radio, I did not have transport. I would foot. I would come from Chireka to Namirembe to come and record. Now, I was wise enough to say, you know what, let me bulk create content. Guys, I started creating content long time ago in analog times. Before ChatGPT came, before AI was a thing. We had just started on social media. Other people were even bashing me for being on Facebook. They were like, "Kakati Gwe, it seems you're standise kwetunda. You're putting on pictures on Facebook." And guess what? The pictures I was putting on, guys, when you are young, I was putting on. Did I tell you the pictures I was putting on while I was bending over like this, while I was doing like this, while I was showing the back like this and the bam bam, like I was all over the place, just having the fun of my life. Are you achieving? What are you looking to achieve? And I was like, stay in your lane. But I get that one. God blessed me early on in life. I knew how to make people quiet and how to tell them to mind their business while I mind my own business. I went ahead and blocked them. And I was like, I will block you afterwards. I unblocked them after I had actually broken even. But my intention was not to break even. My intention was just to share my life, just to go on with my life. But I used that 2 minutes. I would walk and come and record. I batch create the content for like 2 weeks or a full month if I know transport is going to be a problem. But I was faithful with a little. That when God gave me the bigger platforms, I was ready. I was trained in the hiding. I was trained in the walking, in the footing. Obuteganya, not to give up, because I would have said, I'm a young girl. Now you give me 2 minutes. Like 2 minutes for what? So I speak what in 2 minutes? I speak what that can make sense. But I made sense with those 2 minutes. And out of that sense, people would be like, they would call the station and say, can you send me all her clips? Because I want to listen to one by one by one by one. Yes. And people started buying. I started selling CDs. It was before the times of Flash, guys. I started selling CDs with micro messages of 2 minutes. Temonda bidawa donva wala. I would put on like 50 of them. And then I also had combos. Guys, I started monetizing this thing. Before, I would tell them that if you want 30 clips, it is this much. If you want 50 clips, it is this much. If you want 100 clips, it is this much. Guys, I branded the CDs with my face on them and my name and my number and my social media platforms. Times is analog, but for me, I'm branding CDs. But look where that got me. Do you see that? The momentum came in the doing. I closed the gap of execution. And the momentum built. And that is how it goes from glory to glory. That is how it goes from power to power. There is no skipping. And sometimes God surprises you and it gives you a quantum leap. A quantum leap of, I told you of a scenario that my first clients were not even in Uganda. They were in diaspora. You talk to someone for 45 minutes, for an hour, and they tell you, I forgot to ask about the price, but let me send some money. And they send 500,000. And they recommend another person, and that person tells the other person, she charges 500,000 for a session of 1 hour. And I was like, who am I okubalabula? Musasule 500,000 zamwe tugende. And people in Sweden, people like, there was a whole conveyor belt of Sweden, Germany, UK, US, of people that were telling each other, in Uganda we have a new counselor, and this counselor knows our problems. Byonna mubiwe bahati, byonna ne babikola ki? Ne babireta. That's how I bought my first car. Yeah, that is how I went in from studio apartments to my fully rented, nice apartment. I think it was a 4-bedroomed apartment. Yes. And I was like, because now that is now a quantum leap. That is not even incremental. That is not 1 + 1. That is not. There are times when you start building, the moment you close the execution gap, sometimes God rewards you with quantum leaps. You skip levels. You don't just go from one level to another. You skip levels. And so you're like, hey, God, am I the one? Yeah? And it is very possible in your business, in your family, in your calling, in your brand, whatever it is you find to do it with all your heart. What is doing? Execution. Whatever your hands find to do it what? With all your might. All right? And overthinking is often fear of responsibility. You're like, now if it doesn't come out the way I thought it would come, now what if I call them and they don't come? I made peace with that. Let me tell you, even if I ever made an event, I called people for an event and they didn't come out. Watch it in Jakola, you're real, nganzina. Like, I made peace with that. I was like, it's not my responsibility. God, you sent me. I did not send myself. The clarity on my life is very, very, very clear. The clarity is clear. Did you see that? The clarity is very clear. That clearly I am here to help as many people as possible. So, if I do my due diligence, I promote, I do whatever, I create the content, I do whatever it is, I prepare so well, and nothing shows up, I will go and have the biggest ice cream with my husband. Yeah? And I will eat his as well. That is how it be. And then after that, we will go out. And then after that, we will go back home and we will be very happy. And you will never hear me speaking about it. It will not be a loss. Whoever didn't come with faced the loss. Me, I did not face the loss. So I made a peace with responsibility. Let me do my responsibility. God is going to do, and the others have to do their own responsibility. So overthinking is often fear of responsibility. Yeah? What if I create this consultancy and then no one shows up? What if I don't get jobs back to back and it's not sustainable? Whatever it, do you see that? Now, it is talking you out of execution instead of pushing you into execution. All right? And then imperfect action produce more than perfect intention. Imperfect action. It's better to have imperfect action, but have action anyway. Why not do the imperfect? You're like, I will do my reels, I will show part of my nose, I will speak things that I don't understand. What was I saying? What was that? But you're like, slide, don't check on it. And then after 2 days, come peeping with one eye. To see whether you got even 2 likes or 3 likes. And you're like, if you didn't get a like, you're like, I'm a better next time. Next time, better. Yeah? Instead of saying, you know what, I have that. You know, when I start, and sometimes we have this fantasy world. We sit down. Do you see how much I know you, and how much I be in your business and in your brain? You sit down and you're like, now when I start creating content, and there are some people you have seen on screenshots on Instagram, and they have those wood tables, and then they have properly manicured nails, and then their lipstick is on point. Now some of you have hated red lipstick, now you're into nudes, and then you just look at the skin and how they are saying, and you're like, one day I'm going to create content like that. One day like this. Guess what? You have never asked any cameraman how much they charge. You have never scripted even a single reel. Scripting is free. Asking for price is free. But you have never even done that. Do you see that? It's not that I don't have money, that is why I'm not executing. The problem is internal. It is the misalignment of our identity and what we believe we can accomplish. We say something different and we do something different. You're like, one day I'm going to speak like Coach Bahati. One day like this. And then they tell you to swing a phone in front of you and say, hi guys. And then you're like, oh, but the nose looks big. But the distance between the forehead and here, oh, but mine looks big. Oh, but it's inappropriate. Oh, but the lighting wasn't good. The type of, we have all sorts of excuses. Why? Imperfect action. Guys, that is why I would rather do anything imperfect. For me, I don't fear bringing out anything imperfect. I will bring out something imperfect, and guess what? Because I've done this long enough, no one will know it's imperfect. It's me who will know it's imperfect. Because I've done this long enough, there is credibility. There is trust. So when someone sees that you have brought out a poster, they're like, wow, that's a nice poster. According to me, it is 1 out of 10. According to the public, it is 10 out of 10. But if I wasn't brave enough to bring it out, I would have missed on another 4 days of even mentioning it. Do you see that? So it's better you do the imperfect. But as you go along, you will see that your standards are raising. Now you can no longer do that level of imperfect. Now you're doing a higher level of imperfect until you get, and you can never get to a level where you're all perfect. Guess what? The people that we admire also look at their videos and they're like, really? Let me just put it up there. Yes, the people that you admire. But because they have created a name, credibility, and trust, and they have the attention, now you think whatever they do is the right thing. No. They also punch holes in what they are doing. No one can ever be perfect. So perfectionism is procrastination that feels spiritual and intelligent. Perfectionism is a procrastination that feels spiritual and intelligent. It is smart. You sound like you're wise. You sound like you know what you are saying. But guess what? You are not wise because there is no execution. You're not wise because there is no result. You're not wise because you're not moving. There is no momentum. You're not wise because everything, it goes against everything you want. But you're entertaining it. Why? Because it is comfortable and because no one is going to criticize you for it. Do you see that? So you have to move with what you have. Progress beats any polished thing. Any small progress beats any polished thing. All right? Let's go and talk about your capacity as well. Let me get more into your business. Let's talk about you not lacking capacity, but just lacking the structure and the systems that we talked about. You can contain it. You have the power. You have the ability to actually contain it. Many people are gifted, but very unstructured. If you're gifted, just imagine I think I'll just give an example of Messi and how gifted he is and how he has been in his lifetime, of soccer. But on top of his giftedness, they said the amount of effort that he would put into what he is doing. Being on the pitch when no one is at the pitch. As in, dribbling the ball and scoring at all angles and making sure that and asking himself, if the ball comes in from this angle, will it enter? If the ball comes in from this angle, will it enter? As in, he has said, in all angles, if I am the striker and I'm given the ball at the extreme wing, that ball must get in. I will find a way of carving it and make sure that it gets into. Do you see that? That is a person who is saying, I'm not leaving anything to chance. No. I'm not saying because I'm being gifted, I've been playing football ever since I was young. I know how to dribble. So I'm just going to come from last night's party and how we were drinking and it was a party and everything was nice. And then I will show up at the field. Do you see that? A person that, and God respects effort. He respects effort. And I will tell you, the rewards will be vivid. They will be tangible. They will be undeniable. That the striker will shoot the ball and the goalkeeper will see fire coming. Like, if I don't dodge this ball, it will be the death of me. I'll be like, that boy with his colleague. The moment he puts his left leg on that ball, I'm not going to see where it has passed, but it is going to go. But why? He didn't just come with his left leg because of talent. So many of us, it's not that we lack the talent. It's not that we lack the capacity. We have the capacity. We are good speakers. We are actually good at business. There are sometimes you've been in boardrooms or in places and you have given wisdom and everyone is saying, wow. But guess what? Implementing that wisdom on your own and in your business and doing what you do, nothing. But when you're with others, you sound so wise. What is missing? Execution. Creating systems and creating structures and saying, I am going to pray until Jerusalem is made praise. I will repeat these prayers. I will say them in the morning. I will say them in the afternoon. Do you know that, guys, we procrastinate even on prayer? That we do not buy, you just have to align your brain. Because what we don't want to do, by the way, is the alignment of being congruent with who we are and not just scattering ourselves. We want to be in prayer and still scroll on our phones. And still remember what we watched on TikTok. We cannot be silent in this generation. To be silent for 5 minutes without thinking someone is calling or maybe someone is sending a message. Maybe I'm missing a boyfriend's message or a girlfriend's message, or something is going to go by on TikTok without me seeing it. The news is going. Like, there is an anxiety. Whether you believe me or you don't believe me, we live in a world that is filled with anxiety. And until you learn to rest, until you learn to to not poke your nose into businesses that do not belong to you. Sometimes, because I don't think any one of you is actually older than me here. When you get to my age, that is when you realize minding my business is actually a good thing. It is a beautiful thing. Like, I will be in my home, I will be unbothered, whether I have watched news, who is being strangled, who is being taken, as in, like, chinga sizawa. Wanji? If I'm so much informed, but the world is not going to leave me. The people were telling me, kakati olutalo lujja kugwawo nga totegedde konze mundu zijja kuba bazikweseewa bwe ganaatandika nja kutegeera nti olutalo lutandise kati nga noonye bunoonya nti munnange wo in Uganda, where is it happening? People, you're even searching. Some of you are searching dead people's names. Hey, tell me, last week alone or 3 weeks or 2 weeks ago, if some of you didn't search for dead people's names on TikTok to see how they were looking like. Some of you are guilty. And then you had all sorts of conspiracy theories. But you have time for that, but you have no time for execution. Now that is so easy because it doesn't require effort. Just sit there and think about all conspiracy theories and kudekeka kutanda ne wabawo akyogerako ng'omuwafaya ngo okimuwange yakitegeddeko. Do you know that this and this could have happened? Sometimes we don't even use could. We said this and this happened. Me, I know those girls. You know which girls? You know which girls? Yeah? So let's go back through the things that God will ask us. Energy without systems leads to burnout. Energy without systems leads to burnout. Because you spread it so wide. You do things that you're not supposed to do. If you did one thing today, yeah? If you did one thing today, no chigusa, you'll be very far. If you handled another thing tomorrow, and if you handled another thing tomorrow. But sometimes we're like, do you know how we have talked about execution? Some of you are going to go and you're going to handle 5 things at a go. We vum. Like nkugwiridde nkufunye. To be no collar. No, I did not tell you to go and push 5 things forward. Kwata kochim. Baku wochitusiza. You know? Come back and get another one. Baku wochitusiza. Discipline turns potential into results. Discipline turns potential into results. The moment you're like, it's going to be 1 meal a day. The moment you're like, 5 a.m. is my prayer time. The moment you're like, after prayer, I go straight to work out. Yes? As in, you have the systems in place, the discipline. Because if you have the systems, it doesn't help to create systems without discipline. You will create systems, and the systems will be so nice. And sometimes, do you know, we create systems, and then we go and tell people our systems. And we feel rewarded for telling people our systems. Eh? How we don't do this, and how we don't do that, and how we don't. You know me, I don't sleep past this time. We are not in your home. So even if you sleep past midnight, we will never know. So now the discipline is upon you to execute the systems, right? You set the rules and walk according to the rules. But because you set the rules, and sometimes there is no accountability, that's why I love accountability so much. And I love that Mr. Sabiti will keep me accountable. And sometimes, by the way, he will let me be. He will be like, you promised not to eat that chocolate. You promised not to eat that ice cream. So what happened? I'm like, ndeka molwalero ndeka. And he'll be like, it's okay. You eat it. You eat it. But you know you're going to work out twice as much, because that is like, sometimes he knows how to make me guilty. I avoid eating rice, carbs, and all of a sudden I sit on an ice cream. And then he tells me, you have eaten all your carbs for the whole week. You have eaten all your carbs. Do you know how guilty it feels? You're going to work twice as hard to get that ice cream and that sugar out of your blood system, out of your. And so these days, I inform him. I'm like, today I'm going to order for ice cream. It's like, let's calculate the cost. I'm like, so after sometimes, like, when Nemeda comes, like, it's okay, you can have your ice cream, but you know the cost that is going to come after that. So you see, the discipline for you to say, no, I am actually not going. I don't remember the last time I had sugar. Must have been years ago. Years. I don't remember the last time I had sugar. The whole of the 40 days, it was protein. Yeah? But the thing is, it takes discipline to go back to a house where you have children and you have cooked for them and you have made juice for them and you have ice cream packed in the fridge for them and you have everything assorted for them, and meanwhile for you, greens and protein. Yeah. It takes discipline to remind yourself while you're opening the fridge like this and you're looking at all these things and you're like, Hilda, tame yourself. I will be like, no, he has never worked for me, but I was not so involved in the day-to-day running with him to know much about them. Do you see that? Execution, but I will tell you, it's one of the major things, the major turnaround. This year is going to hinge on execution. From the small things to the biggest things, it is going to hinge. Your speed is going to hinge on execution. Your dominion is going to hinge on execution. Your level of anointing is going to hinge on execution. Your growth is going to hinge on execution. And I will tell you, your profit, your level of profit is going to hinge on execution. Because if you don't execute anything, you promise yourself to launch. For example, I tell you these things vividly because I work hand in hand with you. If I had not brought out Iconic and told you about Iconic, would you be here? You would not be here. So that means it depended on me executing the dream and the idea I had in my mind. And I could have said, but I was with some of these people, as in, won't it be too much? But God told me that, you know what? You are moving with people that want to run, they want to learn, they want to extend, they want to stretch, they want all these things. And you cannot spread yourself so thin. You can only take so much. So the few that you can take, let them show interest. It was more like Gideon taking those men to the well and saying, take the water. So whoever was bending and kneeling before the water to take the water, go back to your homes. You're not worthy coming with me. But for those that were getting water with their palms, it's like they were prepared. I have a sword. If the enemy attacks, I'm alert, I can fight. So those are the ones that, and the first batch, they didn't even take them for a test. The first batch, he just said, wake up and tell all of them. If you have fear in your heart and you're afraid, walk back to your homes. And a big chunk of them went back to their homes. And it was like, there are still many. Take them to the well. Those that kneel down before the water and drink the water from the water itself, let them go back. They are not alert enough. Those are people bagenda bakubia. They are going to be aloof on the battlefield. But those that get their hands and drink, while they are alert that they have a sword, and when the enemy comes, they can be able to see the enemy, those are people that are actually going to fight the battle. So for you that are in this place are the people that are going to manage to fight the battle. You committed to this and you said, God, I need your backing. You invited God into your business when you committed to this journey. All right? So many of us, we need to move from broadcasting to building. Let's move from broadcasting to building. Silence plus action is powerful. Silence plus actions is powerful. Let them see it and let them test it. And I think I will go to the second last, which is accountability forces execution. The main reason as to why we are in Iconic again is accountability. That I will be able to find out from you, how far have you gone? Are you okay? If I don't hear from you for so long, yeah? If I don't see you sending me messages. And accountability is not just about me checking on you. It is about you seeing others do the work and you're like, I better wake up. We signed up for the same thing, and this person is actually doing amazing things. We went through the same mentorship, but this person is actually doing amazing things. And then you wake up and hold your cross again and go. Proverbs 27:17 says, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. One person. That is the beauty of community. That is the beauty of not growing in isolation. Otherwise, you would have watched everything on YouTube. You would have watched all the preachers in the world. You would have watched, and I will still tell you there will be zero execution. You'll be taking in information after information. But where there is community, that means iron sharpens iron. When you hear another person and how they were able to write a book, then you're like, I thought it was a big thing that I couldn't do. It's out of my reach, but I think I can attempt it. Let me attempt to actually do it. All right? So isolation makes excuses very comfortable because you're giving them to yourself. No one is hearing your excuses. So, no one is bothering you. No one is keeping up tabs. But while we are in community, when you see someone making it and you're like, I was in the same cohort, I was in the same mentorship. You, as in Bahati was talking to all of us the same. Why is it that the other person is far, is running ahead, and I am lagging behind? Can I check myself? Do you see that? Isolation makes excuses very comfortable and agreeable. And then accountability creates pressure to perform. And sometimes we perform better under pressure. Do you agree? Sometimes we perform better under pressure. But you don't feel like reading. But when they put up the timetable, that is when you feel like everything is clicking. You make all the summaries you do, and then we used to have people who used to say, and you're like, but what's wrong with me? Yeah, but because there is pressure now, you want to perform. Execution thrives in environments of expectation. If I expect something from you, when you look at me and you see that you're not doing what I expect of you, do you know, you will even look away and you're like, Coach, you know, because she expects something that I have not done. I promised marathon of content, but marathon of content is not coming. Yeah, I promised to do an event, but I chickened out. And I walked out on an event. Now I am quiet, and then I'm like, but hey, we had talked about an event. What happened? It's like, you see, people were going back to school, and then there were this and this and this and this. And like, so when is the next date? You're like, Coach Naiva Nanga Dechi. Set the next date. And like, I'm not seeing any graphics for the event. Wabi Vako. Until you're like, you know what, Coach on I'm ghostings are seeing. Let me coast Coach. There are people who have ghosted me purely. And guess what? They have come to me afterwards with gifts. And they're like, do you know, naku ghosting, and I got a heavy conviction, and I went ahead to do things, but I was doing it without speaking to anyone. And this is the much I have grown. And I'm like, wow, the seed never dies. Yeah? The seed never dies. God is going to torment you and haunt you and convict you. Execution thrives in environments where there is expectation. If no one is checking your progress, your excuses will multiply. If no one is checking your progress, your excuses are going to multiply, and they're going to be very acceptable and valid. And you'll be even sleeping and you're like, now ochiraba. It's like that. Let's go to our very last point that I'm going to talk about tonight. All right? Consistency is more spiritual than motivation. Consistency is more spiritual than motivational. Galatians 6:7-8, it says that do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. Whoever sows to please their flesh, from the flesh will reap destruction. Do we hear that? Do we hear that? Consistency is more spiritual. That do not be deceived. What you sow is what you reap. So if you sow sporadically, whenever I feel it is when I'm going to do it. Even the profit will come whenever it feels like it. Even the results will come whenever they feel like it. You cannot cheat your way out of God. Do we hear that? You cannot cheat your way out of whatever God has said. He has set principles. All these are principles. If we want the promises, the principles are the pathways to the promise. We want the results. We want to bridge the gap of execution. That means we must be able to do the things that, let's be the doers. Let's, be in community. Let's do all the things that we have talked about. Work in silence, build in silence, and not be broadcasters about what we do. Yeah, about what we are doing. Because then we get a piece of, now they know I am doing this. And all of a sudden, you actually don't do it. Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. If you consistently show up, I will tell you that consistently you're going to grow. And consistently you will keep being stretched. And consistently you will keep earning better. And consistently trust will begin to build. And consistently credibility will go high. And consistently, until some people will say, like some people get me or I bump into them on the way, and they're like, I watched you when I was in senior 4, and I'm like, Tomfula nyomokade. But of course they're telling me, as in, there's something you have done in me. And you have not stopped. Yeah? You have not stopped. What good is it to start and then die off somewhere because of the problems of the world? You think we all don't have problems? We do. But consistency, even when you're pregnant, even when you're when you're on your bed rest, even when, as in, consistency everywhere. It is possible. I know womanhood can be hard. I know fatherhood or being a man sometimes can be hard because of the so many expectations. But I will tell you, when you commit to this, God is going to be in it with you. He's going to make it swift. And if you do something that you love, that is why finding your purpose and what you're passionate about is so paramount, because work feels like it's not work. It feels like a hobby. When you're speaking to those teenagers, it feels like they are doing you a favor to even come. You feel life. You feel rejuvenated. Why? Because it is the reason as to why God created you to be on earth. How many of us say, this is the year that I'm going to execute more than I have ever executed in my life? All right? Now, that is your vow. That is your promise. And God is watching you because He's going to wait day after day when storms come, when problems come, in seasons where you don't have money, in seasons where you are betrayed, in seasons where you are abandoned. As in every season, there is no season where it is okay to not show up. Show up whether you're sick, show up whether you are derailed, show up whether you're demotivated, show up, but execution, everything is going to fall and rise on execution. All right? I love you so much.